Hello. I thought I had someone thinking.
What is up, you guys? This is All Danny Day 1 on the PS4, and I'm going to be giving you a guide video on how to build your character. So this isn't necessarily a video on like what gear to go for or your stats or whatever. This is just basically a video on what abilities to go for and how to choose your abilities and your infinities and your synergies. So I'm just going to show you with Psylocke. Um, the way I go about with building my characters are I test every single ability out first. So while you're leveling up, you want to test out every ability. You know, if you can or if you want, you can come to the shield training room. Oh, whoops. Come to the shield training room, which is in the headquarters. It's the second one right here. You can go to here, or you can just go ahead and do your story, see how your abilities work against your enemies, and then after you've tested all these out and whatnot, you should have a good, um, kind of idea of how these abilities work. But now, here's the thing: once you hit level 32, you get your first talent. So your first talent slot is one of these three. Second one is here, third one here, fourth one here, and then the last one is this one. So I don't remember exactly what levels you have to be. I know it's 32, and then like 40 or 38, then 44, 50, then 56 or something like that. I just know the first one is 32 and the last one's 56. So what you're going to do with your talents are you're going to read the talents, obviously, see what does best, but also you have to make sure you look at what the talents affect. So my first talent here for Psylocke affects my signature, and the first one gives me damage resistance and health back, as well as psionic barrier, and giving my allies guarded. The second one gives me instantly resets the cooldown of all my other abilities, and this one gives me more damage, or not more damage, but it reduces the cooldown of my signature by 0.5 seconds and it has a 50% chance to do that. So you really want to choose the talent that works best for your build. And also, when you're building your character, if you have a character that had, well, you generally want to have a area of effect ability, so a nice AoE, nice damage over time, either AoE or single target damage over time, and nice heavy damage over time ability, or consistent, not damage over time, consistent single target ability, and your dashing ability, and possibly a defensive one too. So something that can make you invulnerable, heal you, put you into stealth, etc., or summon like taunting projections or and whatnot. You know, anything defensive. So like what I'm gonna say is you want to have a character that does AOE, or an ability that does AOE, burst damage, damage over time, something good for single targets, and a defensive ability. So those are the five, obviously. And then you obviously want to have your dashing ability. A character like Psylocke has two different dashes. One that puts me to stealth, and the other one that lets me get my psionic barrier back. So with the next talents, you know, so on and so forth, you're gonna have to read the talents and see if it works best for your build, and then just so on and so on. So I used Mobile Assassin because with my Psylocke, I went with a completely movement build, as well as having my projections out. Because with a character like Psylocke, when you have your projections, they also deal damage. So I kind of wanted to build around her projections, as well as being able to put out nice damage with my assassinate and pulling enemies in, making them vulnerable, and nice AOE damage over time, also making them slow for a bit. And then my dash puts me into stealth. So something like that would help Psylocke, obviously. And then you have assassinate that, and then you got masterful projection, which also puts me in works for my projections as well. So either or could work, or you could use exploit weakness. It doesn't really matter. Any of those three work. If you get into the situation of choosing one of the three talents, then just you're gonna have to probably test each talent out and look closely and probably note down which one helps you more. And then even like testing on the against the dummies as well in the training center isn't gonna be super helpful all the time because that only calculates how much damage you deal, but you're not able to see if you're able to negate the damage from the enemies or and so on and so on. See if it helps you defensively. So yeah, you're gonna just want to basically work around your abilities. Find a good build with AoE, damage over time, single target burst damage, dash, and defensive, and so on and so on. Once you're familiar with that, find out your
I
talents and
need
see
something
what
to
they
fight.
do. And then after you get all that figured out, your synergies is what's going to be the next thing that's going to help you out a lot. So the way you should go about with your synergies is when you look at your abilities, for example, Falling Lotus Strike, under the title it says melee, movement, bleeding, psychic, and cooldown. So when I go to synergies, it's melee is her, well, not just melee, but when you look at the majority of your abilities. So Shadow Dash is melee, Falling Lotus Strike is melee, Silent Projection would be melee because they're going to be doing the melee damage as well. Katana Typhoon is melee, Assassinate's melee. This is ranged, and then ranged. But the majority of my abilities, the ones that I'm going to be spamming the most, are melee. So with my synergies, I put on as much melee as I could. As you can see on the right side, I have 14.5% melee power damage. Not just that, but you also want to make sure you go into your traits as well. When you go to powers, press triangle, and then you can open up your traits so you can see the damage box, the defensive box, and your resource box. And then when you go to the damage box on the left side, it says fighting or intelligence, 20% to enemies not targeting you. But you see where the fighting and intelligence are, those are your two main attributes. So when you do that, when you go to your synergies, you really want to try to get those two main attributes set in on your synergies. And then after that, just go with whatever gives you the majority of your abilities. For example, if you're a character that you know is going to be critting a lot, or if you have high crit hit, so you have to make sure you base it off around your stats as well with your synergies. So not just your abilities, but just also your stats. So if you know you're going to be critting a lot, you have a lot of crit hits, then crit damage from Hawkeye is going to be a really useful one to use. The damage versus normal elites, if you think you're going to need that little bit of extra damage against regular enemies and elite enemies, then use that. If you think you're going to need extra damage against bosses, use that. If you feel like you really need to earn more credits, I mean, I really don't know why you would need that, but I mean, if you need that, then go ahead and use that. And yeah, if you're a character that uses a lot of movement or needs to move around a lot, like if you're a really slow character, movement speed would work, attack speed would work as well. So that's how you should really build your synergies. You should just build your synergies based off of your abilities and your stats, nothing else. And then your infinity, with all your infinity points, you mainly want to build around your character's strengths. For example, I'll switch to Scarlet Witch real quick. So with Scarlet Witch, her main strength would be the fact that she can one-shot enemies. So having as much chaos energy as possible is going to be super useful when you're going to do farm runs and whatnot. Because the more chaos energy you have, the more times you can spam your Chaos Rift. And just in case you guys don't know what that is the Chaos Rift is what lets Scarlet Witch one-shot multiple enemies. I mean, she uses her signature, which hits like a huge, like a really big radius for enemies, so that you can one-shot. You just can't one-shot enemies with what was it? Crowd control immune, and you can't one-shot bosses either. But other than that, you can one-shot enemies. with your signature, and then once your Chaos Energy bar is full, use your Chaos Rift, and then you're gonna just be able to go around and one-shot enemies. So that's what's really good with Scarlet Witch is um, putting your Infinity Points into Chaos Energy. Characters like let's say Blade. It's gonna be kind of a mix.
For you far too long.
So with Blade, I put points into Reality Gem, into the potency portion, as well as putting points into his fighting right here. So that way I can have higher base damage, but also my signature power is going to be doing a lot more damage because he's really built focused mainly on his signature, because his signature can hit like 10 mil if you have him super well geared. Characters like, let's say, someone that may be more well balanced, I suppose. Let's just go back on Psylocke. So someone that's a little more well balanced, that doesn't need to worry about resources, you would just spec into your main attribute. So whatever your main attribute is, when you look at your traits, then you're gonna spec into that, and then go into whatever you feel that you think you need to put points into. So if you feel like you need more durability, more survivability, put more points into defense rating or health. If you feel like if you want more attack speed or movement speed, then put points into temporal loophole. If you feel like you need more health on hit, then go on inner resilience, more brittle damage, then strike through, more crit damage, then mental focus, or crit chance, so on and so on. So you really want to build your infinity points based on what your character basically needs and what you feel like you'd be most comfortable with using. I wouldn't worry about using the same exact amount of infinity points as someone else, or putting the same points into the same thing someone else put into. For example, if I use all my points into intelligence, like let's say I only had 25 points into intelligence, right? Or only had 25 infinity points, and put all that into intelligence, which is only 1 point. You don't have to do that. You can go into whatever else you feel like you would do best with. Just because someone else does good with a certain build doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna do just as well as they did. You just have to find your comfort zone with that build with your character, and yeah. So just to recap on everything that I just said, with your powers, first go to your traits, press triangle, look at your traits, see what they do, see what they are, your resources, see how the resources works, see what your strength is with your base damage and your main damage, your main attributes, and your defensive traits like dodge, deflect, close quarters, so on and so on. After all that, you're gonna look at all of your abilities, so all 16 abilities. Try out every single ability, because you never know. The ones that may sound like they're bad might not actually be bad for you. You might want to play, you might want to play melee, you might want to play ranged. For example, with my Iceman, a lot of people play Iceman with the ranged summon, but for me, I play Iceman with straight melee shatter builds. I haven't made a build yet for that, but I will. But or a video for that, but I will. But yeah, just go with whatever you feel is most fun and most comfortable for you to, beat cosmic trials or superheroic trials, so on and so on. So you with your abilities, you want to have AoE, some type of CC ability, maybe, stuns or freezes or slows, anything that helps. Defensive ability, so something that gives you shield, something that gives you health back or invulnerability, or anything, any type of defensive ability. Even CCs count as a defensive ability, in my opinion. Being able to freeze enemies counts as a defensive ability. And then the next thing would be burst damage, single target burst damage. Especially when it comes to trials, you're gonna want to have that for the bosses and the mechs. because damage over time isn't just gonna be. I mean, it will be enough at times, but you know, sometimes you just want to get those mechs out the way right as soon as possible, or even the bosses. You know, you're getting those bosses out of the way right away. Um, so you have the AOE, you have your burst damage, you have your CCs, you have your damage over time, defensive abilities, and your dashes. And then anything else is just a nice add-on. And then your talents, make sure you read all of your talents, see how they synergize with your abilities. Some talents can also synergize along with each other. For example, with Iceman, if you use Golem Mastery and then you use you use Empowered Minions, Follow My Lead, and yeah. So if you use those three talents, they basically synergize from each other because they're all summon based. The like they'll add more summon damage, as you can see, base damage 15% for summon powers, and then this one another 15% summon powers. This one summons 2 golems, and then this one this one summons ice clones, and this one gives your ice golems 100% more damage, and you also summon 2 ice clones. So you really want to try to see how your talents synergize from each other. And then your synergies, like I said, your synergies are obviously synergizing off of your abilities and your stats. And then your infinity points is going to be just a nice bonus stat for you. Mainly, you want to put points into base damage, but like I said, you do not have to spec into base damage just because I said you should, or you could, or a suggestion. You know, it's just spec into whatever you're comfortable with. And then now onto the gear portion. I'm not going to tell you how much stats you need. I'm going to go over with the talents on your gear. So I'm going to show you with my Nightcrawler the talents on my gear. So if you're in Cosmic gear, this isn't going to affect you if you're under Cosmic. So if you're in Superheroic, Heroic, and Normal, you're not going to, I mean, unless you open supply boxes or got a lucky Cosmic drop, this isn't going to be that useful for you. But if you are in Cosmic and you have Cosmic gear and you're looking for a specific type of Cosmic gear, this is what you want to go for, basically. So with, for example, with Nightcrawler, he's a stealth and movement-based character. And as you can see on my Cosmic accessory, one of his Cosmic, not his Cosmic, you know, I think this also actually works for, it does work for Superheroic gear as well, not just Cosmic. So it is Superheroic as well. Not Heroic, though. I don't think so. But as you can see, it says when you use Stealth Power, gain 260 crit hit rating and 260 Brutal Strike rating, and +2 fighting for 6 seconds. So I found better stat gear before, and other gear that works better for Nightcrawler, except for the fact that that talent right there is what helps him even more, because he gets that additional 260 crit and Brutal Strike, and then that plus 8% base damage right there for 6 seconds. So you really want to try to find your gear with talents that helps your character with their specific build. Like I said, my Nightcrawler is built around his teleport and his stealth build. I'm not building around his flourish sword build at all, but you know, he gets a nice buff from his stealth, from that, or from using his stealth. And then from this one as well, I don't think they stack though. I'm pretty sure they don't. If they do, then that would be really nice. But yeah, you know what? Actually, let me test that real quick. So +3. I'm gonna test this real quick. So that should put me up to 38 fighting if I go into stealth. Probably 37. Yeah, so they don't stack, unfortunately. So what you would need to do is make sure you don't get gear that has the same talents, since obviously you just saw they don't stack. As well as with the Cosmic item affix, those also don't stack. I've already tried that before. So you really want to try to get Cosmic affixes differently, different type of cosmic affixes. Um, the percentage ones, for example, like the one that says 5% chance when you hit to fire a cosmic beam dealing 20,000 damage or whatever. I was told that that doesn't stack either. It's just a 5% chance no matter what. It takes in account of whatever is the highest percentage. So you really want to have something that's different for each gear. And then for the talents on the gear, you really want to try to get something that would benefit your character that isn't the same talents. So the crit, the stealth one that puts me to gives me more crit and brutal strike and more fighting. I would want one of these, and then the next one I would want something that would give me like a bonus from using movement abilities, something like that. And then for your medallion, something you would want to use for your medallion is something that would also, like I said, would benefit or synergize off of your build. So my Juggernaut medallion or Rhino medallion for Nightcrawler, anything that involves movement or stealth would help Nightcrawler a lot. Um, if you're using someone like Rocket Raccoon and you're using the turret build or really any summoner, you really want to get a summoner medallion. Just what is it? The Sinister medallion or Ultron medallion would be two really good ones. If you're using fire character like Jean Grey or Ghost Rider, if you're using Kitty Pryde with her Lockheed build, just straight fire build, then Pyro's medallion or Soren's medallion would be really good for you. Just so on and so on. You just really want to build your character off of, or you want to use your medallion based off of your abilities. And then your catalyst, the catalyst is whatever, just choose whatever that helps you the most. Relic of Gibram, or not Relic of Gibram, your relics is going to play a huge part for you because some characters, for example, Nightcrawler is a very, very resource hungry character. So if you're using a character that is very resource hungry and you don't have the infinity points or you don't want to put infinity points into their resource, then you would obviously want to use the Relic of Gibram. Or if you're using a character like what's her Scarlet Witch, she's not resource hungry, but the more resource you have, the more damage she does. Or if you're using a character like Iron Man or War Machine or Deadpool, the more resources they have, the more damage they put out. So you really want to use something that'll benefit your character in that specific way. If you're using a tank-like character, then a relic of Relic of Subterranea for more defense. If you're using a character that's using more melee, you're trying to put out more melee damage, then Relic of Asgard, more range. Relic of Xander, Dodge, Wakanda, and Atlantis for deflect. And then for your artifacts, which is the last thing, is you want to use artifacts because that will increase your stats alone, but also help again with your build. Like I said before, everything you're gearing up for, your gear, your artifacts, your legendary items, relics, catalysts, medallions, synergies, and infinity points is all based around your abilities. So with my artifacts, you want there's gonna be a bunch of different artifacts out there for you to get and for you to use for your character. So I wouldn't necessarily there's a quote unquote best in slot, like the best of the best artifacts for you, because you never know. One might work for you, but it might not work for someone else. Like I said, with your artifacts, you want to get something that'll increase your stats though. So like Cargo's rewrites is good because that's gives you +3 to all attributes, +3 to both of your main attributes. So that's really nice. I'm using the mobile lab kit that I got from my Danger Room.
Yeah?
And then I'm using Vulture's cosmically enhanced mechanical wings from the Times Square. But I know there's other artifacts out there like the Gem of Curse, the Cosmic Gem of the Curse, or something else that would be even better for someone else for Nightcrawler. But these were the best for me, so these might not be the best for you. So And then for your legendary items are pretty much cut clear with what you should use. For example, if you're using Scarlet Witch, she's a magic-based character. Plus, when you there's one of the ranks, rank 2 gives her plus 200 energy, chaos energy, which means she's able to use more more of her resources. So that way she can keep spamming her chaos rift. But yeah, some characters will be, they'll have two different of the best options for the legendary item. You can ask around on what you should use for your relic. I mean your legendary item, but like I said, just choose a legendary item that is based around your build. If you're unsure of what legendary item you want to use because you keep changing your build around, you can always use the I forgot what it's called. I forgot what. I know I put it on Thor, so I'm gonna go on him real quick. Oh, relic. The Micron Crystal. Yeah. Okay. So the Micron Crystal would be a really good one to use because it's just really good in general. It gives you increase in your resources, health, damage, and your crit hit rating. So that in general works. But if you're using a melee based character and you don't know what legendary to use, then Savage Axe of Ares. If you're a ranged based character and don't know what ranged one to use, then use the Golden Ball of Apollo. If you're a magic character, then you have the Warlock's Eye, and so on and so on. But just make sure you read your abilities. For example, read the abilities description. So Hammer Strike is melee force. Read those and see which abilities you're using, and choose the legendary item that is based off of the abilities that you use the most or the ones that are the most powerful. So that's basically it with how to choose how to get your characters build up and whatnot. I'm not saying looking up character builds online is bad at all. It's actually really nice that you want to go ahead and look at other people's builds. But what you should also do is when you look at other people's builds, try to play around with it and then try to, not fix it, but put it in your own way. Use it for an idea. Use other people's builds as an idea and build off of it. See if you can make it better, or just stick with the build that you're using if it's comfortable. You just want to build your character in a way that's comfortable for you to play and easy for you to use. Not something that's not too complicating, and even if it is too complicated and you get used to it, kudos to you. You just want to, like I said, you want to make a build that is fun to you, or it's fun for you, easy for you to get used to, and you're capable of being able to complete your trials and whatnot. So heroic, superheroic, and cosmic trials. Eventually Omega difficulty as well. Also, another thing that I want to throw out there is you're going to be using most of the time you'll be using the same build as you used during your cosmic trials, but there's some characters that will use a completely different build for their cosmic trials. So you may need to build your character around the cosmic trials, but make sure you note down what you used for that trial, so that way when future difficulty trials come out, you can use that same build, see if that works in your trials. And then after you complete your trials, then you can go back into using a farming build. But yeah, that's basically it. Hope this video helped you out. If it did, go and leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you have any suggestions or anything that you'd like to know, like to see, let me know. Also, if you want to be updated and whatnot, I do have a Twitter as well that I had recently made about a few weeks ago. It's at all day any day one, and that's it. And yeah, so like I said, that's basically it. Hopefully this helped you out. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. This is all day any day one on the PS4. Have a good day, good night, and peace.